Hello everyone, I'm Mitchell from GB Productions, and today I'm going to take apart this 3.5-inch Max-Tor hard drive. So I've had this drive for many years. In fact, most of the early videos on the GTS Tech channel originated from this drive. So it has some sentimental value to me, but you see it has failed, so now I'm going to go about taking it apart. And the tools I have to do that is a precision driver set, which this is a Mastercraft one, but really any brand would be fine. And I also have what they call a smartphone repair kit, and this has even smaller size screwdrivers than the precision driver set. And when I did a test recording with a smaller 2.5-inch drive just before now, I found I actually need to go into this set, which I hadn't opened it yet, so that was fun. So anyway, with further ado, let's give this a try. So the first screwdriver you're going to need is a T9 100. As you can see here, I don't know if it's in focus. On the other drive, it was T6s on the 2.5-inch, and also a 0 Phillips. But on this one, you want to start with a T9. So this circuit board you see here on the bottom, that typically is the control module for the drive. So basically the SATA protocol, it sends signals, and this little microchip in here, it communicates with the drive motor. Well, it basically decides where on the platter it's going to put the data based on where it already knows data is written on each platter. Now this drive doesn't say how much cache it has, but I would assume based on its age it's not very much. It's actually a SATA 2, so it's 1.5 gig instead of SATA 3, which is 3 gigabits per second. But frankly, you're never going to even hit that speed on a hard drive. So, in fact, the main motivation for the NVMe protocol that a lot of solid-state drives use today is the fact that they can read and write at 3 gigabits per second, which ended up meaning that SATA was too slow for them. So there's a piece of foam. That's typical on these older drives, actually. A piece of foam holds it to the platter and also protects it from the magnetics of the rest of the drive. You can either remove the foam or you can leave it on. It doesn't really matter. So I believe that's everything we can remove here. So now we'll do the top. Again, I believe it's still a T9. It is. And there is 6 screws on the top of this particular drive. Now, a lot of drives aren't this nice to you. They tend to have a sticker that covers all the screw holes, so you have to essentially use this screwdriver here and go looking for them, uncover them, and then you can continue. And Now for this drive, I'm fairly confident that I can't just take this off with my fingers. So you'll need to use your flat tip screwdriver here and slowly start to go in there to pry it off. You can hear it start to crack. It's unsealing and opening. And you can see they're being sneaky here, but there is another. So this is the warranty label on this particular drive, but this drive is so old that it really wouldn't matter at this point. And I believe under here is a screw, which is why we couldn't just take the top off. Now I have opened these in the past when I worked in IT. And I have opened them before without taking all the screws off. That typically you're like seriously bending the cover. And for my purposes here, I'm trying to show you the right way to do things, and that wouldn't be the proper way to do things, to do it that way. Now that screw comes out, and this should just pop off now. Hopefully. Yep, it does perfectly. This is actually a pretty heavy duty piece of metal on this drive. A lot of the times they're lighter. I know it's aluminum, but it's definitely a higher grade aluminum than I've seen on some of them. So this is usually a counterweight or sound deadening. I've never really been quite sure exactly what. So this drive is actually a 3-platter, which for its age, considering it's from 2006, it's actually a little bit surprising to me. This drive isn't that old. I mean, it's fairly old, but to have 3 platters for just 250 gigs is a little surprising, to be honest. So that just comes out pretty nicely if you just pry it out. There's a little bit of a small little gasket on it. Now, sometimes these are nice to you and they just come out nicely. I don't think this one's going to be one of them. Yeah, it's definitely wired in there good. It isn't loose on the other end either. Next. So this drive is interesting. The spacers are actually tied into the case of the drive, which I can't say I've ever seen before on one of these. That there looks to be another counterweight, maybe. I'm not sure. It's full of a lot of small little pieces. You wouldn't want to puncture this open, or you'll be cleaning that up for years. Always something to be a little concerned about when you're poking around in these. It looks like there's still T9s inside, which is nice. It's nice that they used one universal size for everything, because that doesn't happen very often, believe me. And the other drive I did before that I filmed, but it's basically unusable. We weren't that lucky, and they were like T6, and then like I think the rest of them were like a 1.5 size, which are miserable. Here we can just lift off the magnet. I'm surprised it came off that nicely. They're usually not that nice. And this looks like I'm going to need a flat tip screwdriver. This size should work. I may need larger for that. Alright, so I've grabbed a 1/4 inch flat tip bit and a multi-bit screwdriver. And this should be enough to loosen this now. Definitely wide enough. Assuming I can get it in the slot. Yeah, there we go. Nice and smoothly. Of course, one thing we're going to run into here, if these aren't entirely loosened from the disc, there you go. It came out fairly nicely. So, in this particular drive, you can see here, it's actually threaded in. A lot of drives, these are just stuck in, and they're held there basically by tension because they're upside down and the cover's right on it. This one wasn't done that way, interestingly. Now, my old mentor when I worked in IT told me about drives like this. And so, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard of one. It's the first time I've seen one. You can just see the power of these magnets. They're strong magnets. Another 2 T9 screws. And my assumption is this should just pop off. I say that, but it doesn't really look like it's going to. So for the moment, we'll switch over to the big drive. From these, there's actually 6 screws on this one, which is more than I've ever really seen. These are typically torqued pretty tightly because this drive spins at 7,200 RPM, so they spin pretty fast. So you need to have torque on them. Except these drives don't vibrate themselves to death and break, which if you know anything about hard drives, you can't really subject these to vibrations, or you certainly can't hit them on the ground. Well, they will die. These are small screws, just holding this piece basically onto the well, we'll see what's under here before I make any assumptions. Just slides off, and then this disc will come off nicely, like so. And this separator, there's actually 2 pieces of separation. A lot of modern drives only have this like O-ring type piece, and forego this one. These weren't even quiet drives, so it's not like this was done for sound deadening. It was likely done for endurance because I'm going to assume this is an enterprise type drive. So likely having that piece there improves its longevity. Now one way you can remove these, just to do that, it's a quick and easy way to get the drives out. Another platter, another aluminum piece, another O-ring, and then another platter. Why this drive is 3 platters, I'm not entirely sure. There's no clear reason to me why it should be 3 platters. On some of these, in fact, this motor here is removable, but on this one it isn't. I think that was more of a thing that's common on really old hard drives, because I have yet to see one that the motor is removable. Now I've seen quite a few drives, so you know, take it for what it is. And the magnet here just slipped out. I don't know what it was stuck on before. So I just shook the drive a little bit and this other half of the magnet came right out. And what you can do here, I was going to say you might be able to get this LED flasher out, but I don't think it's going to come out. So just attach it to your other magnet, and you can use these as fridge magnets. You might need to do a little bit of grinding down on the aluminum there first, but they do make really good fridge magnets. So if you have a need for one of those, that's great. So anyway, that's about wraps it up here. Stay tuned for our next GB Productions video. Goodbye!